And so when there's no hope, we then end up moving through life in this closed, defended way, anticipating trouble, or depressed and cut off from life, or aggressive and, needlessly attacking little monks, something like that. So hope is a sense of potential. Very simple way. Hope is a sense in our body and mind that there's potential. There's potential to evolve. There's a potential to realize a sense of belonging, of connection. So what I'd like to do in these two talks is explore the value and importance of hope, the shadow side of hope, because there's hope that can be very egoic and grasping, and then look at what it is that cultivates a liberating kind of hope. What uh, Hamid Ali, who's one of the teachers that's really I found very powerful, describes as holy hope. So maybe to start, let's take a moment to reflect. We'll take stock a little, just sense where you are in this domain that we're exploring. You might close your eyes and take a few full breaths. And let your intention be, as you check in, to bring some interest and honesty to what your experience is without any judgment. Just to sense if you really watch yourself and your moods and your emotions. If you sense, really, are you a hopeful person? If you take in all the different ups and downs of politics and societal shifts and ups and downs in your personal life, and just sense your basic view of the universe. Do you consider yourself to be a hopeful person? And if we looked at it in terms of very hopeful, moderately hopeful, or not hopeful at all, and keep your eyes closed, I'd like to do a hand raise. And who considers yourself here very, very hopeful? Very, very much a sense of the potential of everything. Raise your hands high so I can just check, okay? And how many of you consider yourself in the medium level? Okay, that's more. How many low level hope? Good number also. Okay. So I can't quite give you the percentages right now. You can open your eyes, but I would say it was kind of 60, 30, 10. And so the 30 was high, the 60 was medium, the 10 was low. That's my best take. I'll ask for someone else to check that out at some time. Hope matters. It makes a difference in how we experience our life, our physical being, our emotional being, our spiritual being. And there's a book on hope that was written by Shane Lopez. It's called Making Hope Happen. He did a lot of studies on the effect of hopefulness, and there's a lot from positive psychology on it also. So just to give you a taste of some of those studies, on an emotional level, it's found that hope actually gives a certain kind of resilience in the face of stress, so that it's like a buffer when things are really the negative effects of stress, anxiety, and so on. It buffers that a little. And studies of workers show that hopeful employees experience more well-being. This is all intuitively makes sense. And of course, the opposite is when there's hopelessness, it's a predictor of suicide. Can't live without hope. There's that question, have you ever seen a hopeless, happy person? No. A story I loved about James Whistler, the painter. This took place in the early 1850s. He spent a very short, and it was academically unsuccessful period at West Point. You might not know that, at the U.S. Military Academy. And the story goes that when he was assigned to draw a bridge, he drew a romantic stone one, complete with the grassy banks and two small children fishing from it. And so his instructor says, "Get those children off that bridge. This is an engineering exercise, you know." So Whistler got the kids off the bridge and drew them fishing from the bank of the river, resubmitted the drawing, The angry instructor yells, I told you to remove those children. Get them completely out of the picture. So here's the final version, because the creative urge was too strong in him. His last version had the children buried under 2 small tombstones on the riverbank. Probably got kicked out soon after. But what just intrigues me is that the sense of aliveness we have has to sense hopefulness, has to sense generativeness, creativity. So when there is no hope, on a physical basis, our health goes down. Many of you follow the placebo studies that show that if you're hopeful, those with hope heal better. Like all mindsets, it affects your neurochemistry and releases brain endorphins that reduce pain. It strengthens the immune system when there's hope, as well as respiration and circulation, motor function. So no hope, and we lose our will to live. On a behavioral level, when there's hope, it promotes healthy behaviors. In other words, if we have hope about what's possible, we end up going for it. According to Shane Lopez, he says, hope promotes healthy behaviors, including fruit and vegetable consumption, regular exercise, safe sex practices, and quitting smoking. It's just all around good thing. But we can sense that. If we sense the possibility of really learning something, we'll study. And if we sense the possibility of intimacy, we'll take more of a chance to be open or vulnerable or listen more deeply. And if we sense the possibility of spiritual awakening, we'll give more of our energy to really quieting and collecting, training our heart and mind. Hope sets us on the course. So it matters, and we're also wisely warned against certain kinds of hope. So I want to go there next. When our hopefulness becomes a kind of shadow, you might think of it as an egoic hope that's really a kind of grasping type of hope. T.S. Eliot said, I told my heart to be still and wait without hope, for hope would be hope for the wrong thing. You understand that? That we end up narrowing our sights and hoping for something real particular to go a certain way. That's not the evolved kind of hope we're talking about. Pema Chodron puts it this way. She says hope, and she's talking about this kind of grasping hope, and fear, which is the other side of it, come from feeling that we lack something. They come from a sense of poverty. We can't simply relax with ourselves. We hold on to hope, and hope robs us of the present moment. Okay, so there's a certain kind of hope, that the shadow side of hope, that we're grasping after things to be a certain way, and we get cheerfully optimistic when the stock markets go up, or when we get a promotion, or at the success of one of our children, and we lose hope when we've gotten criticized on the job, or in some way we're unable to, the rent goes up, we can't get pregnant when we want to get pregnant, car breaks down. So there's this roller coaster that we're on, and that's a sign of the shadow side of hope, a kind of more of an egoic hope. I think it's captured best by that real famous Taoist story where a Chinese farmer gets a horse and it runs away, and a neighbor says, that's bad news. The farmer replies, good news, bad news, who can say? Of course, the horse comes back and brings another horse with him. Good news, you might say. The farmer gives the second horse to his son, who rides it, but's thrown and badly breaks his leg. Okay, so sorry for your bad news, says the concerned neighbor. Good news, bad news, who can say? The farmer replies, because in a week or so after that, the emperor's men come and take every able-bodied young man to fight in a war, and of course, the farmer's son is spared. Good news, bad news, good news, bad news. And I suspect many of you have had that experience. I certainly have, where something happens and right in the moment it feels like it's one of those bad things, but something in us gets it, that life is bigger than that, and that we just don't know what leads to what. And when we can put down the bad news, good news, there's a different kind of hope that awakens. And it's a soulful kind of hope. But we first have to put down that sense of being hitched to things being a certain way, including being hitched to our health, our bodies. There's a story about final wishes where a Catholic priest, a Protestant minister, and a rabbi are discussing what they most hope people would say after they die, when their bodies are open on display in a casket. So the priest says, I would like someone to say he was a righteous man, an honest man, and very generous. And the minister says, I would like someone to say he was very kind and fair, and he was good to his parishioners. And the rabbi says, I would hope someone will say, oh, look, he's moving. I want to give you one more kind of example of the shadow side of hope, and that is magical thinking. And it's not that uncommon, that kind of delusional thinking where there's a lot of daydreaming and fantasizing. It's kind of an avoidant or escapist thing, always coming up with new ideas of how to make a fortune or a million new strategies and kind of denying limitations. So it gets passive and conceptual and without it's a lack of follow-up. It's just kind of dreamy hope. I saw a cartoon with a dog a fairy is offering the dog any wish. And the dog says, any wish at all? I wish we could play fetch with your wand nonstop for 100 years. That's the fantasizing mind. So let's reflect for a moment. Just check in. When you get hopeful, what's the context? What's it like? What are you hopeful about? Is it a kind of egoic hope where you're looking ahead and you're hopeful that something particular is going to go your way? Get that job or the raise or someone's approval? One of the signs of that is that it always comes bound with fear of it not happening, that you would not be okay with it not happening. What do you notice about your own quality of hopefulness? And as you reflect, it's helpful to know that if what you found is, yeah, my hopes are kind of hitched to things being a certain way, there is within that still a pure strain of openness to possibility that can unfold itself into a more powerful and liberating and mature hope. That's in there. It just helps to notice where your hope has gotten tight or small.